You failed. So what now? Most people rush to fix, explain, or hide their failure. They panic, rewind, replay every scene, trying to undo the unchangeable. But what if that need to make it right is exactly what's keeping you stuck? This isn't a pep talk. It's a philosophical wake-up call, grounded in Stoicism, the ancient school of thought that teaches emotional freedom through clarity and control. And no one embodied that more than Epictetus, a man born into slavery who lost everything, yet became a master of inner peace. In this video, we're not just talking about failure. We're dismantling the emotional trap it creates. You'll discover why regret is useless, why rejection can be a gift, and how letting go is the first real step toward power. Not the loud, flashy kind, but the quiet strength that makes you unshakable. You fell. Good. Now it's time to stand up, with clarity, with courage, and with a new question in mind. What's actually yours to control? You planned everything. You gave your best. And still, life said no. Moments like these hit hard. They make us question not just what went wrong, but who we are. But before we drown in disappointment, let's take a step back, way back. Over 2,000 years ago, a man named Epictetus was born into slavery. No freedom, no rights, no guarantees. And yet, he became one of the most respected teachers of personal freedom. His secret? A radical idea. Some things are up to us and some things are not. Epictetus wasn't into fancy words or abstract theories. His philosophy, Stoicism, was made to survive storms, emotional ones. It's about facing life head-on, especially when it doesn't go your way. When you lose a job, fail a project, or get ghosted by someone you trusted, that's the moment Stoicism steps in. Not to make you feel better, but to make you free. Because what hurts most isn't the failure itself. It's the refusal to accept that it happened. So here's the shift. Failure is not personal, it's universal. Everyone hits a wall. But Epictetus would ask, what are you focusing on, the wall or your next step? If you keep staring at what didn't happen, you'll never see what can. And speaking of that, what if your identity has nothing to do with what went wrong? Let's clear something up. Failing doesn't make you a failure. But that's not how most people feel, right? One mistake and suddenly we question our worth. That's where Epictetus draws the line. He taught that we should never tie our identity to outcomes, only to our intentions and actions. What? Because outcomes lie outside our control. You can work with discipline, speak with kindness, love with depth, and still lose. And that's not a reflection of you. It's a reminder of life's nature. Think of your mind like a house. The events of the world knock on your door. Some you let in. Some you ignore. Epictetus says, don't give failure the master key. Just because something went wrong doesn't mean it gets to move in, rearrange your furniture, and throw a pity party. The power lies in choosing your response. That's the core of Stoic control, not controlling what happens but controlling how you meet it. It's a practice, not perfection. You'll still feel the sting. But instead of letting it define you, you'll start to detach. And that detachment isn't cold, it's clarity. You'll begin to see. This didn't go the way I hoped, but I remain who I am. And when you stop trying to repair your self-worth through results, something surprising happens. You gain it back. Which brings us to the real trap, regret. Regret is sneaky. It wears the mask of wisdom, whispering, if only you had done it differently. But here's the catch. Regret doesn't change the past. It only poisons the present. Epictetus warned us not to cry over spilled wine, or spilled chances. The past is unchangeable. What can change is what you do next. But that can only happen if you stop staring into the rearview mirror, hoping it becomes a window. We replay moments in our heads like broken records. That awkward conversation. That missed opportunity. That decision we wish we could undo. And yet, all this mental looping does is freeze us in time. Stoicism teaches that suffering doesn't come from events. It comes from our judgment of those events. Regret is just judgment on repeat. And each replay robs you of energy you could use to build what's next. There's power in release. Not in forgetting, but in refusing to let the past define the present. Ask yourself, am I learning or just punishing myself? The difference is everything. Because once you let go of the illusion that you can fix what's already done, you free yourself to create something new. And speaking of new, what if that rejection was actually a redirection? You didn't get the job. They didn't text back. The door you knocked on stayed shut. Feels personal, doesn't it? But what if it wasn't punishment, just a pivot? Epictetus would tell you, we often desire things without knowing if they're truly good for us. Rejection stings because it confronts our illusion of control. But sometimes, what feels like a setback is just life clearing space for a better alignment. It's not always visible right away, but the shift begins the moment you stop resisting. Loss isn't just about what you didn't get, it's about what you now have room for. That failed relationship? Maybe it broke the patterns that were quietly breaking you. That missed opportunity? Maybe it wasn't a loss but a delay, a reroute to something you weren't ready to see. Stoicism reframes rejection not as failure but as feedback. The world is telling you, not this way. And when you stop clinging, new paths begin to appear. Ones you couldn't notice while banging on the wrong door. So the next time something falls apart, instead of asking, why me? Ask, what now? Because if you lean in with curiosity, not self-pity, you'll start to sense the subtle shift from pain to purpose. And that shift begins where very few dare to look, in the hidden lessons of disappointment. Pain gets our attention. But growth? That requires reflection. Epictetus believed that every experience, especially the painful ones, holds a hidden lesson. Not in a mystical way but in a deeply practical sense. He'd say, don't just suffer. Study. Disappointment can either harden you or teach you depending on what you do with it. But most people are too busy blaming, numbing, or escaping to sit with the discomfort long enough to learn anything. And that's a shame because failure is one of life's best teachers. If you listen. What did this experience reveal about your expectations? Your patterns? Your reactions? Maybe you trusted too fast. Maybe you planned without a plan B. Maybe you ignored your gut. That's not weakness, it's insight. Insight you can carry forward. Stoicism doesn't glorify pain, but it refuses to waste it. If you walk through fire, at least come out with the blueprint. And here's the quiet truth. The sooner you shift from why did this happen to me, to what can I take from this, the sooner the wound becomes wisdom. It's not instant. It's not easy. But it is possible. And as you begin to gather the pieces, not to fix the past but to build the future, you'll see where true power lies, in letting go. Letting go isn't weakness. It's strategy. Epictetus was clear. You suffer more from your attachment than from the actual loss. We cling to what should have been, replaying scenarios, arguing with reality. But Stoicism flips the script. It teaches that control begins not by gripping tighter, but by knowing what's not yours to hold. The outcome? Not yours. Other people's choices? Not yours. What is yours? How you show up, again and again. Think of it like a clenched fist. The tighter you hold, the more tension you carry. Eventually you exhaust yourself. But open your hand and suddenly you have the freedom to move, to act, to create. Letting go isn't giving up. It's stepping into what is instead of fighting what was. Epictetus didn't teach passivity, he taught precision. Focus only on what's within your reach. The rest? Bless and release. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, you feel powerful again. Not because life is easier but because you're no longer its prisoner. You become lighter, more agile, more alive. And in that space something opens up, space for action. Real, grounded, present action. So let's go there. So you've accepted what happened. You've let go of what you can't change. Now comes the part most people skip. What do you do next? Epictetus didn't want students who just nodded wisely. He wanted people who lived wisely. Stoicism isn't about sitting in stillness forever. It's about moving with purpose, especially after the storm. Acceptance is not the finish line, it's the starting block. The question is, will you move forward intentionally or just drift? Now is when your power returns. You can rewrite the plan, recalibrate your path, reach out again, or build something entirely new. But action born from acceptance hits different. It's not frantic. It's not desperate. It's grounded. You're not trying to prove anything, you're simply choosing something. That's strength. And it shows up in quiet, steady ways. Applying for a new job, journaling your lessons, setting a boundary, signing up for something that scares you. Epictetus would smile here, not because you figured it all out but because you're no longer trying to rewind the tape. You're recording a new track. One choice at a time. And as you begin this new rhythm, you'll discover something deeper than confidence. You'll find resilience, the kind that doesn't need applause. The kind that's unshakable. But don't mistake that for being untouchable. Because the final step isn't about becoming cold. It's about staying human. What if nothing could shake you, but you still felt everything? That's the sweet spot Epictetus aimed for. Not emotional numbness but emotional mastery. Real resilience isn't about pretending you're fine when you're not. It's about staying grounded when things go wrong without losing your warmth. You can cry and still be strong. You can fall and still rise with grace. The Stoic path isn't cold, it's clear. And that clarity brings peace. See, most people think resilience means tough it out. But that often turns into armor, rigid, heavy, isolating. Stoicism offers something lighter, a mindset that bends but doesn't break. It reminds you, your emotions are real but they don't have to rule you. You can feel rejection without becoming it. You can face disappointment without drowning in it. That's not denial, it's discipline. And it's built one decision at a time. And here's the truth, life will keep testing you. Rejections, failures, unexpected turns, they're part of the ride. But if you've walked with Epictetus this far, you know the drill. Pause, reflect, release, repeat. Each time you'll grow quieter inside but louder in your purpose. Because the goal isn't perfection, it's presence. And now that you've tasted this kind of freedom, how will you carry it forward? You don't need to fix the past. You need to stop fighting it. What happened, happened. The real question is, what are you going to do with it? Will you let failure define you or will you use it as fuel? Epictetus would remind you, the only prison is believing you're stuck. And the only freedom is realizing you're not. So here's your challenge, choose one thing you've been holding on to, regret, blame, rejection, and release it. Not because it didn't matter, but because you do. Then take one step forward. Any step. Write, call, apply, forgive, restart. Action is the antidote to stagnation. If this message hit home, you're not alone. Subscribe to Timeless Advice for more perspectives like this, where philosophy meets real life and where wisdom becomes movement. Hit the bell. Share this with someone who's stuck. And in the comments tell me, what are you finally letting go of?